Beverages with Brad.
Is it obvious which one of us is the professional? Look how nice he looks with this shirt, and I'm wearing a Singer Island shirt, which needs to be ironed, I believe.
This is just a front. I ripped this off afterwards, and I'm in t-shirt underneath.
Yeah, it just actually rips it off and it just has a bow tie. That's it. All right, welcome.
Bow tie and a cake.
Welcome to Beverages with Brad. I'm here with Dave Levesque, owner of Brewed Awakenings, the very, very famous Brewed Awakenings. Now, Karen, your superstar. I was like, do I call her a manager? She's really your superstar.
Yeah, she's the office manager, but yeah, superstar suits her better.
Yeah, she's like, can you do an interview with Dave? And I said, sure. Can we do it next week? Because I'm doing another project. And she said, no, it has to be right away. So here we are. I said, whatever you need, Karen. So here we are. I know you wanted to talk because it's been a tough year for business owners like yourself. And you're going through a period now where you're having a hard time filling up your coffee shops with employees. So go ahead, the floor is yours, Mr. Dave.
Yeah, well, it's not only a tough time for us, but it's a tough time for anybody in the restaurant industry right now. And we just can't get employees. That's the number one problem. It's for a combination of reasons, but the biggest reason is the additional monies that are coming down from the federal government.
Yeah, these kids are getting paid more money to sit at home and play Xbox, so why would they want to get up at 5 in the morning to brew coffee? Was that essentially it?
Well, they get paid a lot more to sit home and play Xbox.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not just kids, it's adults too. You know,
Right.
and I just got off the phone with another business owner that needs 50 employees right now. That's George's of Galilee down in Narragansett.
Oh, which is a very well-known place.
Well known.
Yeah.
And he literally told me today he cannot staff his store upstairs. The upstairs restaurant will not be open. Doesn't have enough people.
That's really sad.
And my point to him was it's not just people who before wanted to collect unemployment didn't want to work. There's also really good people now that are on unemployment.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the incentive to stay on it.
Well, for me, this year was the first time in my life I've collected unemployment, but that's because it was literally impossible for me to work as a comedian and a DJ. I just couldn't do it. I wasn't allowed to work.
Yep.
So it's the first time in my life to actually collect. But yeah, so you're right. It's kind of a mix of both. Yeah.
Well, it should always be there for those exact circumstances when somebody needs it. It should be there. You need that safety net, whether it's medical or closed down like we had with COVID at the beginning. But at some point when jobs are available again, you need to go back to work. And that's what we're not seeing happen quick enough. And it's not only the restaurant industry, but that's what we're focusing on. It's literally global in the Rhode Island market right now.
Mm-hmm. So, and I ran into you and our good friend Alan Fung. Shout out to Alan Fung. And you were telling me this idea, this proposition, this bill that you wrote up that maybe offers a bit of a solution. So explain that to the viewers.
So what I came up with after sitting down with a lot of the other restaurant people, it's actually a bunch of us come up with it. It's not a singular idea. Was to match what is being put out by the federal government. So the federal government is saying, hey, if you're collecting unemployment, we're going to give you another $300. So somebody who was collecting $276, which would be 60% of a wage, if you were a minimum wage employee, we'll start out with that number for easy communication. You could get another $300 from the federal government, taking your $276 to $576. So at least during the beginning of the pandemic piece, or into this year of the pandemic piece, it gave those people who couldn't get a job or didn't have a job money in order to get by, because you couldn't survive on just partial unemployment.
$200, yeah.
And it depends. Like, you know, some states pay even less on unemployment. I talked to one guy yesterday on an interview I did, and their state only puts out about $180 a week on unemployment. So here you can get almost $600.
Right.
So someone collecting $600, tack on $3, now they're up to $900. So pretty lucrative to stay home. So
yeah.
So the bill we put together basically is a 13-week program. So we can get through the middle of the summer. You can sign on. If for some reason you have a medical condition, maybe you're sick with COVID, or maybe you just can't get back to work for whatever it may be, it could be taking care of somebody, it could be staffing or child care issues, you could join the program.
Grinding rocks in the back kitchen right now. Give us a second. What, they have a jackhammer in the back there. That's how they grind the coffee beans. Sorry, go ahead. Okay. I mean, look, I had to acknowledge, I know they heard it, so I had to acknowledge. If I just ignored it, it'd be weird.
I'm deaf in that ear, so I did not hear. You could get on to the program for the second 13-week segment, which would bring us all the way through to October, getting us through this summer season. And the way I worked with the team on designing the program was you would collect $150 upfront each week from the state of Rhode Island. And then as long as you maintained employment, whether it was a Tasker or it's a Brewed Awakens or Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, anybody, at the end of the 13 weeks, the state would cut you another check equivalent to $150 a week. So that would be $1,950. So essentially, you still got your $300, but you got it because you went back to work and were part of the working.
So in other words, instead of incentivizing people to stay home and play Xbox, you are incentivizing them to get off their ass and go back to work.
So they can buy an Xbox.
There you go. So I don't really know enough about politics and all this. So I don't really know what do you have to do? Like, who has to sign off on it? Where are you at in the process of getting this thing through? Tell me where you're at and how that works.
Well, I was like you. I didn't know enough about politics, even though I follow a lot of it, but I didn't know enough about the process. So this has been a learning curve for me too. So the first part of it was I presented the idea to Joe Shekarchi, the Speaker of the House, about 4 weeks ago. And he said, if you put a good bill together that makes sense, I'll make sure it gets heard and gets a fair shot up at the State House on the floor there.
Well, right off the bat, that's a challenge because, well, A, it's good because he gave you a positive feedback, but B, it's like, okay, but I'm assuming you had never written up a bill before, so it's like, it's not like,
yeah, I had no
it's
idea.
not like sending somebody a text message, you know what I mean? Like, it's probably involved, I would think.
Yeah, well, it's a little involved, but it's the bill I put together was very basic too. It's only like 2.5 pages, and I think they triple line space, so it makes it look really big.
It's 4 words. It's like, get back to work.
It matches my education. See, I have no high school, no college, so it matches my education. So that was the first part. You fast forward a few weeks, 3 weeks ago, I came back, actually about 3 weeks ago, maybe less. I came back to Joe on a Friday morning and said, I have the bill done, and I want to send it, and I said, I want you to read it. He said, send it to me. I said, it's already in your email. That was about 8 o'clock in the morning. By the time I got to Johnson at 9:30, Senator Frank Lombardi was there. I gave him a copy of the bill, which Karen, the superstar, brought up to me as I walked through the door. He read it, stood up and said, who's sponsoring this bill? Well, I didn't even know you need a sponsor. I heard
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know what that
thinking
means. Yeah.
So you got to have a sponsor.
Hey, Pepsi is sponsoring. Yeah.
Gordon Food sponsored the bill. So he said he wanted to sponsor. I said, beautiful. So that was in his hands. 5 minutes later, I bump into Mayor Alan Fung. When you were there, we were talking, having a good chat. And I mentioned it to him, and he said, hey, you should get this off to my wife, who's a rep, Barbara Ann Fenton Fung, and it got sent off to her. By 11:45, Senator Lombardi sent me an email back saying that the majority leader in the House liked it, had already sent it out to be written and mirrored in bill format, bill text and legalese on that big long paper, and it was in the process. That was all on Friday before noontime.
So things were going quick.
Really quick.
Yeah.
By the time we got to, I want to say around 2 o'clock-ish, I had received a text from the governor's office saying, you need to send me a copy of that bill. So we sent a copy of the bill over to them that we had written. Then we got into next week, and by Tuesday of next week, I believe it was Tuesday, we were already assigned bills. Bill number 802 in the Senate and bill number 6128 on the House side. So it's already in play. So within less than 2 business days, we had a bill sponsored on both the House and Senate. Senator Frank Lombardi, the Democrat in the Senate, and then Barbara Ann Fung on the House side. So it's in there, and now you got to go through the different committees, funding and finance and different things like that to figure out whether the bill is practical.
So it's like on the right path.
Absolutely.
But now you got to wait for all these other people in boardrooms with ties to say yes. Is that it?
Yeah, some with ties.
You got to dumb it down
ties.
for me. You know what I mean? I'm just picturing a bunch of very important-looking people sitting around. Maybe like they have a pipe. Some guy's got a monocle. I don't know what goes on in there.
It could be. Some might not even show up, but they might have a title. And, maybe they're not even really looking at it, but it's in their office. It could be too.
Okay.
So also then we had to get DLT involved. So we needed the Department of Labor and Training involved. So we sent it over to them and they looked at it. They had some problems with it.
Uh-oh. All right, I had a feeling this was going so smooth. I was like, there's no way there's not going to be at least a couple roadblocks.
Yeah, it's definitely not going smooth. And now you fall into a couple things. One, is it practical? Can it be done? People are looking at it and questioning it. 2, you get the political side in it. Hey, my name's not on it. I'm not on board. hey, I don't want to have it because maybe they got a friend that's collecting unemployment, they want them to stay on unemployment. Could be many reasons, but you got now the political scene getting involved,
Right.
and you're literally playing volleyball back and forth, and now you got to try to go out and sell the bill. I don't know what's better than selling the bill. We're paying people to stay home. You got restaurants that can't stay open to produce revenue and taxes to pay back to the state. And if you don't resolve that, then you go backwards. So here's a bill that resolves that, but yet we don't really want to do it.
Yeah, in general, it does seem like common sense that eventually America has to work again. I'm not an economist, but I'm pretty sure it's a pretty bad idea if nobody works and all the businesses close. I have a feeling that's a bad look for the country.
It is, but in reality, that's the road that we're on. You know, when you have it where people just are unable to, or able to collect and not able to go back to work because there's no checks and balances, that's a problem. So what I've learned on the DLT side, and when they said, hey, you cannot use unemployment funds to use this, which to me was a surprise. Well, if you're paying someone to sit home,
why wouldn't you pay them to go back to work?
Go back to work?
Right.
Like you're already paying. I mean, isn't the going back to work better for society than staying home?
I would think so.
But no, that's a red flag. Can't use that. You know.
You're going through this battle. You're trying to get this done. To me, it seems like a great idea. Nobody gives a shit about my opinion, but I think it sounds good. I'm curious. People watching. What can they do? Can the common man, can the lay person like Brad Pierce do anything? Or is it literally just now it's being battled amongst politicians, it's being discussed and negotiated or whatever?
Well, yeah, and actually I do need the regular folks to do something. I also need the businesses to do something.
Okay.
And that is, you gotta contact your reps, you gotta contact your senators, you gotta call the governor's office, you gotta call DLT, and all of those things are important. So back to the DLT issue, where you could help support is by asking the DLT to enforce the current rules and regulations in there now, which is if you can work, you should work. If you're supposed to look for a job, you do look for a job. If you're offered a job, you're supposed to take that job. The problem with DLT, and we'll get back to the other things you can do, but the problem with DLT is they cannot enforce their rules because of two reasons, and these are things I'm finding out in this whole process. One, because they're taking money from the Fed, and the Fed is saying, hey, there are restrictions and there should be a vaccine out. Someone tripped.
I was gonna say, you almost went through that without breaking stride. That would have been impressive.
Because they're requiring the vaccine to be out and all those different little restrictions, and because we're taking money from the Fed for the state of Rhode Island, DLT is telling me they cannot enforce the rules. So Brad can be on unemployment and not even have to go through all the processes of actually trying to get a job, and they'll just sign off and you keep collecting.
They'll just keep throwing
That's
money.
bad. And if Brad used to only collect $200 or $300, he'd want a job now. But now that he's collecting 5, 6, 7, or 8 or 9,
Yeah, what's my motivation?
There's no motivation, especially with summer coming around board.
Yeah.
The other problem with DLT is that the state, as long as the governor, and we used to have the previous governor, now the existing governor now, have restrictions on the state, once again, DLT cannot enforce you to go back to work. Not totally, but like if you're a part-time person, you don't need to go back to work. So you still collect unemployment, you still get the federal money, there's no incentive to go work at Brewed Awakens or Starbucks or Dunkin', or the other day we saw Cumberland Farms close. You're not gonna do it if there's no real reason to need the money or funds to do it. So the next part, yes, call DLT and tell them to start enforcing. Call your governor and tell your governor that you have to take the restrictions out of Rhode Island so that you can force people back to work using the DLT rules, regulations, and requirements. And call your state representatives and senators to enforce it. And if there's groundswell support for it, it's probably going to happen. But what I'm hearing now is there's not the political support for it. The people up there want to keep collecting the money from the federal government. So as long as they're doing that, we're not going to have DLT enforce the rules.
Now, what's their motivation for that?
Money. Money coming in.
Right, but how does that help them?
The
on a
people
personal
up at the
level.
State House?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the more money they get in, they can use for their projects that they want to do. It's sort of like, let's think about...
Let's just keep the free money coming.
Keep free money.
But no big picture thought of like, hey, this is probably gonna be real bad in the long term. No one seems to be thinking that.
What happens...
Again, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't work out well if you just
No.
keep throwing money out the window and never building
it don't
anything.
work out. Listen, we as a state were not fiscally responsible for years, and that's why we ran in deficits and we ran behind and we couldn't pay attention. You can't run your household like that. I can't run my business like that. But the state does it, and then they put the burden on somebody else. So in this case, the federal government is funding all those bad decisions now, and they're waiting for that money.
And now imagine all the states doing that and just sucking that money, and what it's doing to the country as a whole. Wow.
When this money comes in, who can get money for all their pet projects that they want to do? So once you say to the Fed, hey, we don't need your money, we're going to be responsible. Like if it was me making the decisions, I'd say, okay, no more Fed money. That's it. Jobs are open. Businesses are open. We're back in an area where people can work. Everybody that's able to go back to work, physically able, you're going back to work. And we're going to get our economy up and running. We're not taking any more money from the Fed. We can survive on our own and running. That's not what's happening up there.
Yeah.
They want as much money as they possibly can get. And I'm not
Just keep
saying
the free money rolling.
yeah, I'm not saying they don't care about some things, but they're willing to sacrifice a Cumberland Farms to go out of business, or a George's to go out of business, or any other little restaurant, to suffer so they can get their money in. So they're not doing what's best by society and best for the long-term growth. They're doing what's best for whatever money they can get out of the federal government now in order to fund the state. And that's the problem.
Well, Dave, I hope that this works out. I hope your bill gets through. I hope people get this message and look at the big picture. Who do you hate more, Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Oh, well, this is crystal clear now that I had a couple minutes to think about it. It's definitely Dunkin', and I'll tell you why. Every time we build a new store or we remodel a store, it's a requirement that the people that are coming and doing the work, they have to buy me chocolate frosted donuts. And it's not good for my weight.
So Dunkin's making you fatter? That's your problem?
That's a problem. The chocolate frosted donut.
Who's obviously Brewed Awakenings coffee is much better than both. But if you had to pick, which coffee would you choose of those two?
If I had to pick, I probably would choose Starbucks. I'd get a latte.
You see, but that's not the straight up coffee. See, that's almost like cheating. See,
Well,
for me,
we're not talking straight up coffee. Well, then I'm going to go to Dunkin'.
Of course, because Starbucks coffee tastes burnt to me. It tastes burnt and bitter. I don't like that.
We have multiple tastes and selections and variety. It's like
Come
ice
to
cream.
Brewed. Don't go to either of those. And the final question, it's a question I love to ask all my guests. The United States is being attacked by evil robot ninjas, and you have to put together a super team. It's you and 4 other people, live or dead, real or fictional characters, but it's you, it's a team of 5, you and 4 other individuals to defend the United States from evil robot ninjas. Who are the 4 people you pick?
Let me think about this. Well, definitely it's got to be Bob Murray. We got to have Murray over there. Let's see. I don't know. That's hard. You got to pick 4 other people.
Yeah.
I'd pick Trump. He's a fighter. I definitely would have.
You just
Trump
lost
on my
half
side.
the audience right there. Half the audience just tuned out, but that's okay.
You're going to deny that he's not a fighter?
Not physically. He's not in great shape. He ate a few more donuts than you did in his time.
All right. Hillary Clinton. She's a fighter. I'm going to pick.
All right. There's a good way to balance it out. You get both of them.
Yeah, both
now,
of them.
Now you please both. Now that's the political thing to do. You give both of them.
Definitely have both of them on my side.
All right.
There's not a doubt about
No,
that.
but you need some. Now you need some actual, like you need like some kind of superhero or something, because neither of them are going to be able to defeat ninjas. You know what I mean? So you got Trump and Clinton.
would
And you.
say
So there's
Spider-Man.
3. You only 2
I gotta
minutes.
get
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
All right, now
Spider-Man
you're
is
talking my
definitely cool.
language
Definitely
here.
cool. Spider-Man and then Thor.
Boom. Now look, I gotta be honest. I think that Thor and Spider-Man are really gonna carry the team, and that's
Oh, there's no doubt. They'll definitely carry the team on that.
Dave, thank you for sitting down with me. I really hope this works out. I like that your attitude is to get people back to work, and it's an overall good idea, not just for Rhode Island, but for the country. So thank you, and thank you for the coffee and your time, Dave.
You're welcome. Thank you.